I don't have a whole lot of time. Former employee. I was let go on a medical discharge about a week ago, and I've kind of been running across the country. Oh man, I don't know where to start. They'll triangulate on this position really, really soon.
So you can't spend a lot of time on the phone. So give us something quick.
Okay. Okay. What we're thinking of as aliens are they're extra-dimensional beings that an earlier precursor of the space program made contact with. They are not what they claim to be. They have infiltrated a lot of aspects of the military establishment, particularly the Area 51. The disasters that are coming, the military, the government knows about them, and there's a lot of safe areas in this world that they could begin moving the population to now, Art. They want the major population centers wiped out so that the few that are left will be more easily controllable.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Tonight we're diving deep into, well, a truly weird piece of radio history. You know, way back before we had podcasts and Twitter and all that late night radio. That's where you went for the really strange stuff. And we're talking about one of the biggest names in that world, Art Bell. And specifically, his show, Coast to Coast AM. And one call that still has people debating, like decades later, the Frantic Man incident.
Yeah, it really sums up that whole era, doesn't it? Like pre-internet, the X-Files was huge. Millions of people tuning in to hear about UFOs, government conspiracies, all that. It was a totally different world.
Oh, totally different. And to be clear here, Art Bell, he wasn't just some random guy with a microphone, you know. By 1997, his show was syndicated to over 460 stations, reaching something like 15 million listeners every single night. That's massive, especially for back then. But to really get why this Frantic Man call just exploded the way it did, we got to understand a little bit about Bell himself.
Yeah, his background is really important, actually. I mean, Bell wasn't just some wide-eyed believer. He had a really surprisingly diverse past, you know?
Oh, for sure.
Strict Lutheran upbringing, got into radio super young. We're talking like licensed amateur operator by age 13. Then he served as an Air Force medic in Vietnam. I mean, experiences like that, they definitely shape how he saw the world.
It's almost like he was, I don't know, meant for this kind of life. Dealing with all the strange stuff, the unexplained, but it wasn't like a straight pass to coast, right? He was a rock music DJ for years. Can you imagine? Going from spinning records to interviewing people who think they've been abducted by aliens.
Right. It makes you wonder what got him so interested in those offbeat topics. You know, after the DJ days, he did talk radio, tackling stuff like gun control, conspiracy theories. And what's interesting is like his approach to it all. He gave a platform to these like really unconventional ideas, but he never really did it with that ridicule you often see, you know? And that earned him a lot of respect, even from the skeptics.
Yeah, absolutely. He had this way of making you feel like you were right there in the conversation with him, like exploring these mysteries together. So you've got this enigmatic host, a huge audience, and then September 1997, the Frantic Man calls in.
Oh, it's late at night. The whole vibe is, you know, kind of crackling with anticipation. And then suddenly you hear this voice, panicked, desperate, just breaks through, claims to be an ex-employee from Area 51. And he has to get his story out.
Okay, but hold on. Area 51, just the name brings up all these images, right? Yeah. Like shadowy government facilities, hidden truths. This wasn't some random UFO sighting, you know. This was hitting right at the core of that whole conspiracy culture. Imagine no internet to instantly check facts or anything. You're just relying on what you're hearing on the radio. And what this guy starts saying, oh man, it's the kind of stuff that'd send anyone into a frenzy.
Yeah, he was claiming the government was covering up alien contact, that extra-dimensional beings had infiltrated the military, and that there was a planned attack on like major population centers to control whoever was left.
Wait, hold on. Extra-dimensional beings? This wasn't just your typical alien encounter story. This was something else entirely.
Oh yeah, for sure. It tapped into something deeper, like that fear of the unknown, the unexplainable. And the caller's terror, man, it was real, like palpable. You could practically hear him shaking through the radio. And then just as suddenly as it started, the line goes dead. Silence.
Oh, man, that abrupt cutoff. It must have been agonizing for the listeners, you know. Was it the government? Did something happen to the caller? It just makes it all even more mysterious. I mean, even if you were skeptical, you had to be hooked.
Yeah, totally. And then, about a year later, someone called in, claimed the whole thing was a prank. He even knew details that only the original caller would have, you know. But something was off. His tone was completely different. Like, it didn't have that sheer terror of the Frantic Man. And that just fueled the debate even more. Was this confession just another part of the hoax? Or was it a real attempt to, like, debunk the whole thing?
And this is where it gets really interesting. We've got this incredible story, a host known for pushing the boundaries of belief, and an audience that's, like, primed for the extraordinary. How do you even begin to unravel something like that?
That's the challenge, right? We have to look at the whole context, the psychology of belief, and, you know, the media landscape of the time. This was an era where the line between entertainment and serious investigation was, let's just say a bit blurry. Oh, and we can't forget about, you know, just a few months before this, Bell had pulled his own April Fool's Day prank. This caller, pretending to be a pilot, hijacking a plane, heading straight for Area 51.
Oh, man, that was classic. Fake fighter jet noises, a simulated crash. People must have been freaking out.
Yeah.
Really shows you the power of radio, especially back then, you know.
Yeah, it's a great example of how easily belief can be influenced, especially when you've got a master storyteller like Bell at the helm. But it also makes you wonder, right, did that prank actually make people take the Frantic Man call even more seriously?
Yeah.
Like, did it create this environment where those kinds of outlandish stories could, like, really flourish?
I think it definitely blurred the lines between, like, entertainment and what was real. And then on top of that, you have this already intense fascination with Area 51, which in the 90s, it was basically synonymous with government secrets and alien cover-ups.
It was the perfect recipe for a story like this to take off. The Frantic Man, he didn't just tap into those fears, he amplified them, you know, gave them a voice. And with no internet to quickly debunk anything or check facts, people were just left to wrestle with the possibilities.
It makes you think about how we consume information today, right? I mean, we have so much at our fingertips now, but it's also so easy to fall down these rabbit holes of misinformation. Back then, it was a different kind of overload. You were at the mercy of the source, the storyteller.
And that's what makes Art Bell such a fascinating figure. He wasn't just presenting information, he was like creating an experience. He knew how to build suspense, how to make the unbelievable feel plausible.
He was a showman, for sure. But you gotta wonder, even if he was skeptical himself, did he ever feel a responsibility to, I don't know, maybe rein in some of the speculation? To draw a clearer line between, like, entertainment and genuine belief?
That's a tough one. On one hand, he gave a platform to some truly wild theories, but then on the other, he often told listeners to think critically, to question what they were hearing. It's that ambiguity that makes his legacy so interesting.
So how did all of this play out for Area 51 itself? Did the Frantic Man call just add to the mystery, the legend of this already super secret place?
Oh, absolutely. It cemented Area 51's spot in pop culture, you know, as like the symbol of government secrecy and the possibility of alien contact. Before the call, it was this whispered rumor, something on the fringes of conspiracy theories. Afterwards, it became a mainstream obsession.
Like, he gave legitimacy to those whispers, made people take the rumors more seriously, and that hasn't really gone away, has it? I mean, we still see Area 51 stories popping up all the time.
Yeah, it shows the power of a good story, a mystery that just refuses to be solved. The Frantic Man call, it gave us this glimpse into a world beyond what we understand. And that glimpse, even if it was brief, it left a mark on our collective imagination.
Makes you wonder, what if he was telling the truth? What if there really are things happening at Area 51 that we just can't explain?
It's a question that still gets to us, doesn't it? That possibility, however small, that there's more to our world than we can grasp. And that's the core of the Frantic Man story, right? It's not just about aliens or government conspiracies. It's about our desire to believe in something bigger than ourselves, something truly extraordinary.
That desire to believe, it can be a powerful thing. But like we've seen, it can also be dangerous if we're not careful.
Yeah, it's like walking a tightrope, right?
Yeah.
Between wanting to believe and needing to be critical of all the information coming at us. It's a skill that's, I mean, it's more important now than ever, you know? with its social media and all that, misinformation can just spread so fast. We got to be careful, be discerning about the information we're taking in, always questioning, always digging deeper.
So how do we apply that to something like this Frantic Man call? Where do you even start trying to separate fact from fiction in a story this wild?
Well, it starts with understanding the whole context. Got to remember, this was a time when conspiracy theories were everywhere, fueled by a lack of easily available information and a general distrust of, government institutions.
Right. And then you've got this charismatic host, Art Bell, who, even if he wasn't saying, yes, all this is true, he definitely wasn't shutting it down either.
Yeah, exactly. He created this space where these ideas could be explored, debated, and in a way amplified. And that's the real challenge. How do we engage with these kinds of stories without getting totally swept up in the hype, without losing that critical thinking?
It's like you said earlier, we got to be like detectives, looking for inconsistencies, evaluating sources, and always being aware of our own biases.
Exactly. And even then, we might never have all the answers. But that's okay, The search for the truth, that process of questioning, analyzing, that's just as valuable as the truth itself, I think.
So after all this, where do we land on the Frantic Man call? Hoax. Genuine cry for help. A little bit of both.
Honestly, I don't think there is a definitive answer, and maybe that's the point. The Frantic Man call, it stays this enigma, a story that keeps fascinating and perplexing us. It reminds us that there are some mysteries that might never be fully solved, and that sometimes the most compelling stories are the ones that leave us with more questions than answers.
It's a good reminder that truth can be, slippery, and that even in a world overflowing with information, real certainty can be pretty hard to find. So what do you think, listener? After this deep dive, are you leaning towards hoax? Or something more? Or are you, like us, still hooked by the mystery? Whatever your conclusion, we hope this has been a thought-provoking journey into the world of Art Bell and that enduring fascination with the unknown. Thanks for listening.